Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Best Practices for Lead Management in Dynamics 365 CRM. My name is Katie and I'll be the facilitator today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and we'll answer questions at the end. This session will be recorded and shared on our blog as well as shared with you early next week. Now, I would like to introduce our presenter today, Young-Ha Kim, Dynamics 365 CE Solution Specialist here at Encore. Young-Ha, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. As Katie mentioned, yes, we'll be covering the best practices for lead management in Dynamics 365. We only have half hour, so we won't be able to cover, everything for best practices, but I do plan on covering two topics that I find a lot of organizations do not typically use, unsure that they have available to them. Both things that can really streamline um, some blockades or streamline some efficiencies for some of the users within your organization, particularly the setting up lead routing rules. If you run into any scenarios within your organization where you have a weekly sales meeting and you're just assigning leads, or you have certain territories or certain rules, some of these routing rules can actually take care of that for you automatically on create of a lead. So it really reduces the time of when a customer reaches out to your organization and having somebody reach out to them specifically, not an automated message, but somebody who has a tangible action item or something like that. So we will be going over some of the settings and rules I've set up. We won't go through all the intricacies of every condition, but I'm going to give you a guideline of what you can do, what you can accomplish, and hopefully you can use that as a base to see how it would best fit you and your organization if you decide to turn this on. I'm going to leave some time at the end. If you have any questions or maybe specific scenarios that you'd like to see, I'll do my best to try to monitor that. But if throughout the demo, but if we have extra time at the end, I will try my best to see what I can do to help you get off the ground if you decide to turn this on. So or utilize this feature. So please add them to the chat or add them to the questions, and I'll do my best to try to get to that at the end. The second topic that we'll be going over is the predicted lead scoring. This is a really nice feature that you can just turn on, and if you have the eligible data within your organization, it'll actually just give you a general score within any leads that you're working with. I'll go through all the details and what the metrics and what the numbers mean. But it's really simple turn on. I have a blog post with some of the more details in setting this up and best practices as well that in our follow-up will include a link to that. But in this demo, I'll just show you how it shows up on a specific lead when you create it, but also going into some of the details of how it can get set up or changed or modified within your organization. So let's tap into this first topic here for setting up lead routing rules, some roles and assignments. I'm going to bring out my demo environment here, and I'll go through kind of the base setting of what's going to happen if you have to turn this on, and then I'll kind of go backwards and reveal a layer at a time of what you can accomplish within your organization. So it might seem like a lot at first, but again, hopefully you'll see the demo of the assignment, and then we'll go into the specific details of how I got that set up. So I'm going to create a new lead here. And if we look at the assignee, I'm going to just enter some generic data. If you look at the assignee here, it's set to myself, Young-Ha Kim, but I do have a routing rule set in place already if an incoming lead gets created with an immediate on the purchase time frame. So this is just a base guideline of the easiest metric I could use. If there's ever a lead that gets created within your organization, whether that gets created manually or automatically by some sort of, subscription base or email base or something like that that you have already linked to your organization. This can be preset, and if it is anybody that creates a lead with this purchase time frame, you can assign it to a specific person, right? So I have it currently set to where on create, if this is set to immediate, I have it set to a team, and that team name is just again another generic one. But if you want to make it more applicable to you, it could be maybe a person within your sales organization that only deals with immediate leads, right? So if you have maybe a sales development role or somebody within your organization that deals with that, you know that you're going to have an individual reach out to them directly as soon as the lead is created, right? Without this lead assignee or assignment rule, this lead gets created and then it goes into the pipeline, and who knows when that next person or somebody from your organization is going to reach out to that individual, right? Sometimes you have a weekly sales call or something like that where you review the leads and gets assigned, but it really is really easy if you have somebody or that piece gets automated, right? So if I'm going to do a quick refresh, you can see that owner change from myself to that high value team, right? So you can see a lot of different applications, how you can use this feature. You can create as many conditions as you like. You can make it as complex or as simple as you like. It doesn't have to be by this specific field, right? It can be based on a region or a territory or other fields that you want to include, right? If maybe the rating is hot or even cold, right? If you could do it the other way, where if it is cold, maybe you have a team that's set to maybe nurtures or another member that deals with some colder leads right off the bat, right? So it's just really easily you can easily set up these rules to assign it specifically to a team or a user that they can use to then take action on it just much quickly, right? So you see the automation took maybe 30 seconds to a minute, but this would all happen in the background if you have leads getting created automatically already, right? So if you want to turn this feature on, there are some licensing limitations. You do have to have either the sales premium or the sales enterprise license. So as long as you have that, you should be able to go into the setting called sales insights settings here in the bottom left hand corner. So once you click on that, it's going to take you to global settings. And under the sales accelerator tab or section, you're going to see work assignment. So this section would be where you would come in to set up your specific rules. There will be one default one set for you already within your organization, which is this default segment for leads. So I would recommend just leaving that. And then you can create your other rules on top of that based on priority. So these new rules is called a segment. So each segment will have a priority, and then within each segment, you can assign rules for that specific segment. So my priority setup right now is I have one for an immediate timeline, I have one for Washington territory, and then if I don't have anything, then it's going to just go to the default. And if I go into this segment, first it's going to query if the number of record or the value of records of the leads that's incoming. So my condition here is just to check if this contains data. So if that lead, if it gets created, you see it's not a required field. So if I ever created the lead and this was blank, excuse me, it would bypass this segment and it would just go to the next segment in priority if it meets that condition or not. And then if it doesn't meet, it just keeps on going to the very next. So this first one, I have it so that it did meet that condition for contains data. And if it did, if it does contain or meet the conditions, you want to go into the second tab for the assignment rules. So this would be where you would start setting up the details of who you wanted to get assigned to. So if I click on this rule, you can just set a name, and then this is the additional parameters that you can add in those specific details. So here's purchase time frame equals immediate. So that's what I have set for that first lead. And then I set a specific team I want to assign it to and set it to high value. Now, for these assignment rules, you can create as many conditions as you want from a combination. So you can add many rows, group them together to make an and or clause. But unfortunately, you can only have 10 conditions per rule. So it's very important that before you get to this stage for the rule, that when you set up your segment, like define the data that you want those records to fit in your segment first. So you can add, again, only 10 conditions, but this will help you fine tune those incoming leads from the very beginning, and then using those conditions to get another set of rules within that subset of data, right? So that's what I've set up for the immediate. And then down here is your settings to assign. So I have it set to a specific team. If you don't work with teams for lead assignee and you just want to work with individual people, you can actually set it to a specific seller as well, which is in this instance a specific user within your organization. So if I had set it to somebody else in my organization, like Farron, you would know that you can assign that, and you can also define more than one user within these parameters. So maybe you have users on different teams that you can't assign to a specific team. You can actually customize a number of users that you want to add, and then change your settings of how it gets distributed. So pretty straightforward for a round robin. The first one's going to get assigned to Farron. The next one that enters a cycle is going to get assigned to your next user, and so forth and so forth. If you want a different approach, you can change it to load balancing, and then based on certain capacity of that specific user, if they have X amount of leads already assigned to them, maybe we'll assign it to somebody else. If not, if you only have one seller assigned, then these settings don't really matter, right? So all the leads that fit these criteria is going to be set to this specific team member, right? Or specific user, excuse me. So that's a pretty straightforward segment and rule. It's up to you if you want to create as many as you like, and then the different priorities. If I create another one, you'll see, and it doesn't meet these first condition, it'll actually go to the next one. And then if it doesn't meet any of those, it'll again go down. So if I review the second rule, I have leads with the Washington territory. And then if I go to the assignee or assignment rules, I just have a simple one that says if it equals Washington, then it should be assigned to maybe the Washington team, or again, you can set it to users within that Washington region within your organization or whatever territory that you may have. So I'm going to go back to my environment. Let me create a new lead. And then I'm going to set the state and province to Washington. I know this is a pretty bare lead, but I'm just creating it just for lead purposes, for demo purposes. I'm going to leave this blank just so that it doesn't trigger that first one. Click save. And to monitor incoming leads that are waiting to be processed, if you go back to your sales insight settings and go under work assignment, there's this button here for monitor leads. This will walk you through the first tab here, existing leads that are waiting to be processed. So I created that first lead, or that initial lead that's for Washington. And what it's doing is going through all the segments that I've created for this assignment and routing rule. So it's going through seeing if it meets the conditions for the first priority. If it doesn't, it'll go into the second priority, and then again, if it doesn't, go to the third, right? So here, if I go back to that monitor leads, you can see that first row. There's nothing to show, no leads are being processed. You can see the status, and then the segment that it was related to, and then the rule that it was assigned to, and set, and what happened in the assignee, right? So you can see this one was the Washington territory, and if I go back to the lead, you can see that owner got changed from Youngha to Washington team, right? So I'm going to go back to the priorities here. It didn't meet the conditions on this first one, so it went to the next priority. It did meet these conditions and then stayed in that rule and made sure that it got set for that. Each of these leads that are created, if you do turn this feature on or add rules, it's nice to check every ones that are processed, because there may be some that slip through the cracks in terms of which ones meet the conditions or not. So if there's any leads that didn't meet any conditions, you're going to get this status saying needs attention, and you can see the status details. And so if it had already met the conditions or didn't meet any of the conditions of your segment rules, it's going to need maybe some data changes that happen too fast or something like that. You can actually assign it to a specific member like right off the bat. But if you already have some sort of internal triage process, I'm sure that will get picked up as well. So if you are the one deploying these features within the organization, this is a good tab to monitor because you can see which ones are successful, which ones needs attention, and then also you can check if there's any that should have been in a different segment, see what happened as well when you're doing your testing before you deploy this in your environment, right? Let's see, if I go back to the lead, you can see how like you have all the fields accessible to you on when the lead is created. So you can make the conditions as complex as you like or as simple as you like. Like I said, this really works best if you already have a lead creation or automated lead creation process where the owner is maybe someone generic, a system or something like that, and then you can auto assign them. You can have the system auto assign them to a specific user so that it really streamlines that process for your organization. And I've had to, in my past lives, I've had to, triage the leads on my own, and it was rather tedious as well. So you could say this is kind of a full circle moment for me, but I hope this will be somewhat applicable to somebody within your organization or something like that to set up. If you have any specific scenarios or questions, please add them into the chat, and I'll see if I can tackle that at the end of the call here when we go into the questions. So the next topic we're going to go into is predictive lead scoring that you can enable for leads. You can kind of already see this widget here on the lead that I created for lead score. They do only get scored once a day, but once you have this enabled, this will show you a score. If I go back to a lead that I created in the past already, here's a lead score that gets shown, and it'll give you a little bit more details of what that score indicates, right? So like, why did it get increased to this high number based on certain data points that you entered? Why did it maybe go down based on certain other values that might have been created for this specific lead? And then you can go into more details for your score as well over time, right? So if you had created this lead last week, or you have a lead that's been created in your pipeline for multiple days, you can see the history of that as well, right? Um, but what does this lead score mean, right? This lead score doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get qualified every single time, right? It's just based on existing data that's been qualified or disqualified within your database, saying it looks like all the ones that are qualified before, you have similar data points that matches that. So you're going to get a higher score on this lead, and it's more likely that it's going to get qualified. And the more data you put in to your database over time, it's going to get a better training model and then maybe a more accurate score. But this score is never an 100% guarantee, right? I mean, nothing is, I think, in this industry or business. So it's just another indicator saying this is what we expect, or this is a general score. This has a high number of probability of qualifying. You can create more quantitative insights based on that. You can maybe generate a calculated revenue based on a specific lead score for your pipeline and your sales organization and what's in the line. But again, like I said, it's not 100%. So how do we turn this piece on? It's actually in the same settings area as the assignment rules. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, it's under this predicted models for lead scoring. So you will have to enable this to turn on when you first get to it if you don't have it on. And it will take some time. Like, it will have to go through your existing data. And one of the prerequisites of turning this model on to train the number in the lead score is 40 qualified leads and 40 disqualified leads in the last 2 years. So that last part for the 2 years, that is arbitrary. You can set it as low as 6 months or a year or 2 years. I personally recommend setting it to 2 years so that you get the most amount of data of qualifying and disqualifying. If you went through maybe a sales change or sales business process change, maybe you tweak that to maybe last year or 6 months or so. But I find it works best as long as you're keeping the existing fields alive or the same in the process, that you set it for the 2 years. Once you have this model turned on, you can actually edit the model based on what fields you want the model to use to generate your lead score. Actually, before I go into that, you can turn this toggle to retrain automatically to on. And if you do that, it will analyze every field that the lead entity or table touches. So it will include all fields that you may or may not see on the form, but also definitely just anything that has data in that. I find it that while it sounds great, it's a little overwhelming because it's going to actually train the model to give you lower scores than normal because there's a lot of fields that you don't necessarily see on your lead form that it's using to track your model. So if it's all blank, then the system is going to recognize that, oh, it was disqualified because 200 of fields that you don't see were blank. So it kind of throws off your lead score. It's not, I don't think, as personally as accurate. So I actually have this turned off. And when I click on edit model and click on this little arrow under the lead, you can manually select specific fields that your users are entering in that what could show up for a lead qualification or disqualification process, right? So I only have those ones checked off. They're pretty straightforward out of the box, but these would also include any custom fields that you have created within your organization. So you could create that and add them into your lead model, right? So if I scroll down to the ones that are unchecked, right, you can, if you had that retrain automatically turned on, it would look for like these fields to see if they're filled in or not filled in, like email address 2 and 3. I don't think it's, it's pretty rare, I think, that you have a lead or that needs to capture all 3. So again, it's a little overkill in my opinion, but if you want to see that data right up front, um, uh, when you first turn it on and see what it's like, more power to you. Then down below is your grade range. So you can edit this grade range to whatever the lead score is that fits your organization. Me personally is more worried about the specific score than the grade. I think the score is a little bit more flexible in terms of what you enter, what you don't enter in your sales process. So I don't know if the grade is super applicable for everybody, but you can edit these ranges to whatever you like. So totally up to you. And then the last thing that you can review here in the lead scoring is this performance tab. So this will tell you over time how accurate their score is, the recall or conversion rate, and then your matrix of the true positive and true negatives, right? So these two numbers are basically what drives that lead score. But just because it has a low score, like I said, doesn't necessarily mean that it can't get qualified. It just tells you what has or hasn't been in the past. So I go into these details more and what these numbers mean and how it can be applied to you and your organization in my blog post, which we'll reference in the follow-up. But the lead score, once you get this turned on, it's really just a widget that you can, all the users in your organizations can see when you have leads that are created over time, and you can monitor that as you go. So it's kind of up to you. So you can see like some of this stuff. Excuse me. Can just show you like here's a lead score that's 31. Why it went up, why it went down, and then the additional details, right? So that pretty much covers the demo of these two settings. I know we covered a lot, but hopefully it gives you a guideline or a base starting point of what to look for when you decide to turn on both of these features. But if we have any questions or any specific scenarios you want me to go into for any of the attendees here?
And thanks, Young-Ha. If anyone does have any questions, please enter them into the question area in the control panel. We are, however, nearing the end of today's webinar, so if you do have a question in there that we aren't able to get to, we'll be sure to get back to you by email later today. In the meantime, I'm going to add the link to our events page into the chat if you'd like to check out previous webinars or register for upcoming sessions. There. I will also add the link where you can set your email preferences and opt into our email so that you can stay in the know about upcoming events and see our latest blog articles. Great, so both of those are in the chat now, and I haven't seen any questions come through quite yet, but like Young-Ha said, we'll be following up after this webinar. So if there is a question that comes to mind, just respond to that email and we will be sure to get back to you. Great, so thanks Young-Ha for the information today, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everybody.